D'Angelo, a voice that didn't just define neo-soul, it created it. His music was feeling. It meant stopping whatever you do and just listen. He had a rhythm that mirrored human emotion, vulnerability wrapped in velvet tones, a sensuality that was bold and tender. To understand D'Angelo, you have to feel him. Every note, every pause, every whisper in his songs is a human heartbeat. Born Michael Eugene Archer, D'Angelo emerged in the 90s with a sound that was revolutionary, and he was only 21 years old. His debut album, Brown Sugar, from 1995, was more than just a collection of songs. It was a manifesto. Neo-soul had arrived, blending classic soul, funk, and R&B with a modern consciousness. Tracks like Cruisin' and Lady climbed the Billboard charts, earning him both critical acclaim and a growing fan base. Critiques called him a prodigy. Fans called him a genius. His rising popularity also led to collaborations with other notable artists such as Lauryn Hill, Erykah Badu, and Angie Stone, solidifying his place in the neo-soul movement. In 2000, he released his sophomore album Voodoo, which would further cement his legacy. The album earned him a Grammy and featured the infamous track untitled How Does It Feel?, a song that showcased his raw emotional intimacy and sensuality, capturing the attention of fans worldwide and redefining R&B performance. Billboard recognized him as one of the greatest R&B artists, and Rolling Stone ranked him 75th on its list of the 200 greatest singers of all time. Accolades that reflected not just talent, but the cultural impact he had already begun to make. But fame and success unfortunately came with a price. By the time Voodoo dropped, D'Angelo wasn't just a musician. He had become a symbol, a sex icon, a standard against which everyone measured soulfulness. While most people enjoy this type of attention, D'Angelo struggled. The pressure of being idealized, sexualized, and objectified took a serious toll. He became the ultimate sex symbol, and while the world admired his body, they often overlooked his mind, his heart, and his humanity. He retreated. Depression set in, drug addiction and alcoholism followed. For years, he disappeared from the public eye. The man who sang untitled How Does It Feel with such intimacy now struggled with intimacy in real life. Even with his own image. The media, fans, maybe even family members all pressured him and held him to impossible standards. What's heartbreaking and what's so normalized is that this isn't unique to D'Angelo. Society constantly sexualizes celebrities, especially those in entertainment, while largely ignoring that they are human beings with thoughts, feelings, and vulnerabilities. Their worth becomes tied to how they look, how desirable they are, or how much they entertain us instead of who they actually are. We celebrate them for surface-level qualities and then are shocked when tragedy strikes, depression, addiction, burnout, as if it's unexpected. We fail to recognize that constant objectification, public scrutiny, and the denial of their humanity can be destructive. D'Angelo's story is a painful example, an artist whose genius was overshadowed by an image society forced upon him, whose voice we revered while his personal struggles went largely unseen. Now, after over a decade away from the spotlight, he finally returned with Black Messiah in 2014, an album that was a triumph both musically and personally. He won Best R&B Album at the Grammy Awards once again, proving that his artistry was far more than just surface-level appeal. His story is a reminder. Fame doesn't equal happiness, and being celebrated for appearances or an idealized image can feel like a cage. And it also challenges us as a society to reconsider how we treat those in the public eye, to see them as people, not just symbols, bodies, or brands. But even in his silence, his music spoke. D'Angelo created songs that acted like emotional therapy. Listeners leaned on his music to process love, heartbreak, desire, and identity. That's what makes him timeless. His songs are experiences, and in an era where music often feels disposable, D'Angelo's work reminds us that music can heal, connect, and even save us. However, there's another layer to the story, something deeply human. Why is it that we often value people more when they're gone than when they were alive? Part of it is finality. Life is ongoing, messy, imperfect. We take the people in it for granted, assuming there will always be time to celebrate them, to acknowledge their genius, to truly reflect on their impact. Death creates a sharp boundary. Their story is complete, their work fixed in history. That finality forces us to confront their significance fully. There's also nostalgia and projection. When someone passes, we remember them at their best. Their peak moments, their brilliance, their artistry, and we filter out the flaws, the struggles, the human inconsistencies. We romanticize their life, in part to cope with the loss and in part because we're reminded of what we cannot reclaim. In D'Angelo's case, he was deeply loved and respected while alive. Critiques, peers, and fans recognized his genius, and he had a devoted following. Yet now in death, he's being elevated to near mythical status. Every nuance of his music, every struggle he endured, every choice he made is examined, celebrated, and memorialized. He will not just be remembered, he will be worshipped and mourned forever, not merely as a talented artist, but as a symbol of something larger. Vulnerability, emotional honesty, and the courage to be human in a world that demanded perfection. And this is a reflection of human nature. We respond to absence with intensity. While someone is alive, life distracts us. The daily routines, the media noise, our own struggles, and we may fail to fully grasp the depth of the impact. Loss strips away distraction. It sharpens our perception. We mourn not only the person, but also the emotional space they occupied, the way they shaped our world, and the ways we never truly acknowledged them while they were here. D'Angelo's music will now resonate differently. Songs we loved for their groove, their sensuality, or their poetic genius will take on new meaning. Echoes of the man behind the legends whose presence we will never forget. But we will also never forget D'Angelo because his fingerprints are everywhere. Listen to modern artists. You know, H.E.R, Anderson .Paak, Frank Ocean, even Beyonce and The Weeknd. And you will hear echoes of his soulfulness, his groove, and his daring emotional honesty. His influence is deeply cultural. He challenged what it meant to be a black male artist in the mainstream, refusing to sacrifice vulnerability for marketability. He made room for sensitivity, tenderness, and complexity in a space that often rejects it. He absolutely deserved the reverence he's receiving. I want to come back to his track untitled How Does It Feel from his 2000 album Voodoo as an example. On the surface, it's a sensual love song often remembered for its provocative music video. But listen closely. The song is a masterclass in emotional honesty. D'Angelo's vocal delivery is raw, intimate, and vulnerable. He's exposing desire and human longing in a way that mainstream male R&B had rarely done so openly before. The groove itself is understated yet hypnotic. Every note, every breath, every pause feels intentional, as if he's inviting the listener into a private emotional space. He's not just performing, he's sharing a part of himself that demands empathy, not objectification. In a genre that often prizes bravado or hypersexualized masculinity, D'Angelo carved out a space where a black man could be tender, sensitive, and authentic without compromise. And that vulnerability is why modern artists continue to cite him as an influence. H.E.R channels his intimacy in her ballads. We got Anderson .Paak who mirrors his groove and his rhythm. Artists like The Weeknd borrowed the emotional layering D'Angelo perfected. This man created a template for emotional truth in black male artistry. His work reminds us that depth, tenderness, and honesty are revolutionary. And that's why his legacy is not just musical, but profoundly cultural. Today we honor D'Angelo not just as a musician, not just as a legend, but as a human being who gave us the gift of his soul through sound. Rest in peace, D'Angelo. Your voice, your artistry, your truth, they will live forever. And through us, your legacy will continue to heal, inspire, and move the world.